Yes, I can.
Wow. Oh, that's exciting. Hey, how are you?
That's the way it works.
Who doesn't want to?
Yeah.
Candidates when they run, sometimes wait until the last minute.
Is Brenda count? She's here. She should be one of our board members. So you should count as part of our quorum since you're here.
Nick, you ready? Okay, great. This is the Board of Education meeting for which adequate notice under the Open Public Meetings Act was provided by written notice on January 5th, 2017 to Courier News, the Echo Sentinel, the Star Ledger, Tappan to Warren, and the clerks of the Borough of Watchung and the townships of Greenbrook, Long Hill, and Warren. Roll call, Mr. Stiles.
Ms. Bowe? Mr. Collins?
Here.
Ms. Denizio? Here. Mr. Fahey? Here. Ms. Feckler?
Here.
Mr. Huxley?
Here.
Mr. Martins? Mr. Master Batista?
Here.
Dr. Shabilsky? And Mr. Morrison?
Here.
Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, be it hereby resolved that the board move into executive session to discuss confidential personnel matters, after which action may be taken. It is expected that the matters discussed in executive session will be made public as soon as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Motion? Second? So why don't we start with reports and presentations. First up are the superintendent's comments.
I'll just give everyone a little bit of an update on what's been happening this summer. Our building is, as always, is busy. What's nice is it's been busier with students this summer than construction. So we've actually been able to have a few summer programs here. We always have the extended school year program, but we've been able to add a few enrichment programs this summer because we don't have as much construction as we've had going on in the past. So for the first 2 weeks of the summer, we had students here taking coding courses. We had rising ninth graders here for math enrichment, and we also had seniors here, rising seniors here working on their college applications. And the feedback we got was great. For the first year doing it, we had a nice turnout. And the seniors' comments I thought were the best that Mr. Aquavia put together. I enjoyed reading them because they felt such a sense of relief going into their summer, having a good portion of their application done. So I think we may even be looking to do another week possibly in August. So if that occurs, you may end up approving that retroactively, because if we do have the interest and can do that, we may look to do that. And we did have a number of students here for the coding and the math courses. So it was nice to start dipping our toes and doing some summer enrichment programs for our students. And we're hoping to expand that in the future. So I appreciate the board for supporting that. It was nice to have that going on. We have our extended school year program going on for another few weeks. Ms. Whrhs runs that. We have a very large turnout for that. We have a number of staff members working at that as well. I have to make it by there on a Thursday. One of these days, that's when they cook. So I always get some good meals from them on Thursdays. Actually, my very first meal here was their Mexican Fiesta Day when I first started. And if you see, we do have some construction going on here. The main room that they are working on right now is our South Cafeteria. And they've made tremendous progress on that already. So it's going to finish on time and under budget, right, Tim? No. But they've made a lot of progress on that, and that we're looking to have ready for the beginning of school. And that's really our main project. We're room 108. We're waiting on, but I don't think. And there's some other smaller projects.
Yeah, we got the
wall cladding,
the walk-in freezer refrigerator at the North Cafeteria that they're working on. That should be done on. That looks like it's going to be done on time. And we have some minor projects with the ceramics room and the photography room with the ventilation room. That's underway. We're in good shape.
Okay, great. The only comment that I have is related to the state's Every Student Succeeds Act plan. It was submitted to the federal government in April as part of the first batch of states that were putting in their plans. The state of New Jersey just received feedback from the federal government 2 weeks ago with some significant requests that ultimately, depending on how the state responds and how the feds respond to the state response, could have some impact on some of the use of funds that we have coming from the federal level. So just one of those things that we have to pay attention to, because we are now governed by a law that we still don't really have a fully implemented state plan yet. So it makes certain decisions a little more difficult because we don't really have clarity from the state. But hopefully by the time the school year actually kicks in, we'll have actually a fully approved plan that will help guide us as we go through the implementation of ESSA. So, and with that, I know that Mr. Stiles is going to address some issues regarding the state funding, so I'll turn that over to Mr. Stiles.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did, as the board knows, we did get notification late Friday of additional state aid funds, $112,652. We did talk about it in prior to this meeting in Operations Committee. The state gave the school districts. There were some districts who received more aid, others who received a reduction in aid. We happen to be one who, I've often said over the years, we're not getting the aid we're supposed to be getting because they're not funding the formula, and they're still not funding it. But
And then catch up for years of not funding it.
and they still haven't caught up. But we did get $112,000 extra, which is 11% over the aid that we have right now. If you look at the state numbers, we were one of the higher ones in terms of percentage, not in terms of dollars, but in percentage, we got 11% more than what we had originally gotten. So that's at least, it's less. The state gave us options. You can either send it back to municipalities as tax, or reduce your tax levy and it could be tax relief to the 3 towns, or you can appropriate it in your budget. The timeline is very tight on this, obviously, because the municipalities, they need to do their tax bills. Some of them, they were actually told to hold up on sending them out. I think some of the towns did anyway. I know where I live, they did anyway. They did an estimate. But some of the towns didn't send them out. Warren, I know, is one of them because I've been talking to them. The tax impact of the tax savings would be $5 per home for a year for each of the towns, just to give you numbers. And our discussion in the Operations Committee was essentially in our recommendation to the board is to take those funds and to appropriate them in the budget and use it to offset, not fully fund, but offset one of the projects that we have existing right now that we know we're going to do out of capital reserve, and that project is the Room 108, which is the Foods Lab. So we want to just take that, you remember that project was about a $500,000 project. So we're going to take this $100,000 and then put it toward that. So it'll save some of our capital reserve funds that we can use for another project, which we, as you all know, there are many projects that we still need to do at this school. So we felt that was the best use of that funding. So that was the one piece of additional aid we got. The other one was extraordinary aid, which we usually get around this time every year. We had budgeted an estimated revenue of $200,000. We obtained the number of $348,000, which was great. And what we're planning to do with that is, in one of the resolutions, we're recommending an approval and award to Care Plus. That's the mental and behavioral health program that we had talked about in Ed Committee, Operations Committee, and here at the board level. That's a $98,000 program, and we kind of knew that was coming, so that plan worked out really well. So the difference between the 348 and minus the 200, which we've already budgeted, and this 98 is 50, and we're recommending that we put that 50 toward that same Room 108 project to defray that cost a little further, saving us that much more of the capital reserve. So we planned on using the 500 capital reserve. And with these two transactions, we're actually knocking out about 165, 170 in that range. So it'll be that less.
How are we with our capital reserve? I know we've been limited, and it never leaves us money for emergencies.
Yeah, we in this year's budget, what we did, and actually, great point you brought that up, there's two things that we took from capital reserve. One was about $600,000. We had about a little over $1.5 million, but we used $600,000 to pay off the turf field, which last week we did. All paid. So it's nice to have those paid
About
off.
10 years now?
Yeah, so we used our own capital reserve and then the state money, the debt service aid, to pay that entire field. So that's paid off. So we started out with $1.5 million, we had to take 6 out. And then there was also this project coming up with the Room 108.
108.
So it would be the $15.5 million minus the 6 minus the 5, but we're putting back in 170 from that aid that we got. So doing the math in my head, that's $1 million minus, come on, math person. So it's about $1 million minus, so you got $400-some thousand, then we're adding back 170.
So about 600.
600.
But in June, we had a resolution, so once I close this school year, whatever funds we have available to put back into reserve, we will put into reserve. It's up to $1 million.
That's what our cap is?
Yes. Oh, our cap's higher than that.
We can put up to $1 million, is what you're saying.
Yeah, no, the cap we can put in this year is $1 million.
We can carry more.
We can carry more than that overall. So, to answer your question, we're probably at about, again, just doing the math in my head, 6 plus 1, so we're probably right back at around $1.5 million. Close to it.
Which is not enough.
It's not enough for the projects that we have coming up. We
We run
have,
a very big plant here, and pipe bursts, electricity, these are things that happen.
well, we have 3
Out
larger
of the
projects
education budget.
that we're
We
looking
never
at.
have those things happen here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Roofs cave in.
We have 3 larger projects that we're trying to tackle, and they're in excess of $2 million, so
It's nice not to have to bond these back. These
we're trying not to. By the way, those 2 items that I talked about, walk-in resolutions D22 and D23.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stiles. Operations Committee report?
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Stiles covered a lot of it. I'm just going to highlight a couple other things, just a little addendum to what Tim said on that voting to put that in, to allocate it toward a project. We need 7 of us voting for that, and there are 7 of us here, so wherever you vote, just be aware of that factoid. In addition, just to highlight D13, we're going to be working with First Student. We had a non-responsive and fully completed bid from Dealman, so just something to be aware of, that it wasn't anything that we have control over, and we have to go with the bid laws. Other items that Tim didn't already discuss, I think that we're pretty much there.
All right, great. This will be the first opportunity for public comment. The first public comment period will be limited to agenda items for this meeting only. The second public comment period will be open to any topic. All comments are limited to 5 minutes. Any public comments? Going once, going twice. All right, moving on, discussion of agenda items. Are there any items on the agenda tonight that anyone would like to pull out for discussion at this point?
Ms. President, please go back and comment on something that Ms. Jude said during her presentation, her report. Ms. Jude discussed our enrichment programs and the essay workshop, but you didn't mention too much about the math enrichment program, which you gave details about in your notes to us this week. So I'd just like to point out that there were 18 8th graders who are rising 9th graders who were here for 2 weeks for a math enrichment program. And it looks as if there were a lot of fun things going on to teach them math. So I just hope in the future that more students participate. And I'm not sure how, this information really got out to to our sending districts, but, and. No, it was 12, it was 18, no, there was, I don't know, there was, I think.
Is it going to be capped at just 8th graders, or?
For this program.
This program was specifically for rising
The idea
9th graders.
was to introduce our rising 9th graders to our program here, since the sending districts, the math programs are different, and the students are in different places. It was to bring them all together and to see, so the teachers can see what these students know, and to kind of introduce them to one another and acclimate them to our program here. And it sounds as if it was very successful, and I hope in the future we can grow this and more students will participate.
Thanks for highlighting that, Lisa. We did get emails, the administrators got, the 12-month employees got emails from the teachers of the course every other day or so when they were doing something that would take them out through the halls, just to let us know if there's students running through the halls, that they were part of the class. They did some really nice, innovative projects with them.
Can I add something, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Stiles.
Oh, you know, at 4 o'clock today, we had a meeting with 3 of our booster parents who have volunteered, at least for the moment, to run our booster club. We had about an hour and a half. It was a very good conversation, about an hour and a half to 2-hour meeting, and we were talking about what the board's looking for, the one encompassing booster club. It was a terrific meeting. There was a lot of questions. I felt we were heading in a really good direction. I think they understood where we were coming from and where we want to go. So I'm working with the athletic director, and we're going to try to lay out a plan to make this a reality. I think we're in pretty good shape. They were very serious. They clearly wanted to help. The trick is going to be the succession plan to keep people coming into the club, but they certainly understood and appreciated where the board's position was on fundraising. As parents themselves, we talked about stories and things that they would like to improve and make better. But they were very happy that we were kind of heading this direction, and I think we have a pretty solid, at least a start. So we feel good.
Any other items? The only one that I'd like to just highlight is D11. D11 is for the mental health and behavioral support services. And the reason why I want to point this out was this issue came up during our budget discussions when we were looking at, ways that we could further support and enhance the programs that we have here at our school. And I think that the work that the administration has done to research this, then identify, an appropriate vendor that would allow us to provide greater support to students in need here, I think is a great step forward to us, and I just want to kind of highlight that because it is a follow-through from our board discussions when we're looking at, things that we could support or things that we didn't have resources for, but maybe we'd be able to invest in as we got greater clarity on our funding setup. So that's in there, and I think that's a positive step for us.
Since you brought it up, can I comment?
Absolutely.
I discussed this program somewhat at length at our last meeting, and I just want to point out that one reason that we are doing this is to help the students who are being homeschooled and also students we send out of district. So we're hoping to assist them.
Just to clarify, not homeschool, but who are on home instruction.
I'm sorry, home instruction, I apologize. And so, and also a question, is it possible then to track possible savings? Maybe, it's something difficult, can we then decide, well, this student no longer needs to be at home because of this program, or we don't need to send the student out of district because of this program? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, let me just say, we're spending $98,000 a year on this, and just to send one student out of district would cost more money. So if we can say that there's one student we didn't send out of district, then we at least break even.
Yeah, and certainly the home instruction costs. I mean, you'd be surprised
that is something we can look at, because we,
the last
I don't want you to create, but again, if you just put.
well, we calculate our home instruction costs, and that's at least just one metric we can look at, because if those start to go down, well, we can't directly attribute it to this,
Right.
We can certainly link the two, I would think.
And this is a program that several of our peer districts across the state have implemented. with great success. I mean, they all rave about it. Lisa and I were at a county meeting where the folks from Montgomery were talking about the significant impact of implementing one of these programs had for them. So I think this is, you know, a great program for us to institute, and we'll see where it goes. So seeing there is no other discussion on agenda items, can we move to our A item?
I'd like to move items A1 through A17.
Second. And I do have a comment.
Okay.
On A11 and A12. And again, during our last meeting, I discussed, at Ed committee meeting, our Director of Special Services presented to us programs that are in the Special Education Department now, how we're helping our students. And two of the programs that were discussed are mentioned in A11 and A12. So if you see in A11, the activities of daily living, these are all places within our community that students go to learn about what's going on in those businesses, pizzerias, supermarkets, so they go there and they learn about that type of business. And then with the structured learning experience, when our students are placed in these locations and they actually learn how to work at these places such as the Bounce Factory, TJ Maxx, supermarkets, so they actually gain skills so that they would be able to go out and work. And I just have a question, because I know some of the students do participate here, the structured learning experience, it occurs here at school where they will be placed with people within our...
That's what we're actually looking to expand it to that.
So as it occurred, but that will happen, so they'll be able to place here and learn skills right here.
Yeah, Mrs. Sells is working with a number of staff members throughout the building, our media center specialist, Mr. Bick, our Director of our Acting Director of Operations. There's a number of staff members that are very excited to have some of the students working with them.
And I'm just pointing this out because, again, I just want to say what a great job I think is being done in the special needs, in the Special Services Department.
Anything else on the A's? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Mizio?
Yes.
Mr. Fahey?
Yes.
Mrs. Fechner?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger? Yes. Mr. Batista?
Yes.
Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Okay, motion's carried.
I'd like to move items C1 through C23.
Second.
24?
We have a 4.
Oh, we have
I apologize, I'm usually better than C24 I meant. C1 through C24.
Thank you.
Peter shaking his head.
I got my Cs with my Ds.
Any discussions on any of the C items, C1 through C24? Seeing none, roll call vote, Mr. Stiles.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Mizio?
Yes.
Mr. Fahey?
Yes.
Mrs. Fechner?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger?
Yes.
Mr. Batista?
Yes.
And Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right, in finance?
I'd like to move items D1 through D23.
Second.
Is it 23, is that correct?
Yes. Right?
Any discussion? D1 through D23, any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please, Mr.
God, I
Stiles.
make one mistake, Bob.
Well, no, I made that mistake. I actually have 24 written on mine, so that's why I was checking.
You had this C24 or whatever.
We were backwards.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Mr. Mizio?
Yes.
Mr. Fahey?
Yes.
Abstain on, Lisa?
Oh, I forgot, sorry, yes, abstaining on my, yes.
Gotcha. Mr. Fahey?
Yes.
Mrs. Fechner?
Yes.
Mr. Hunsinger? Yes. Mr. Batista?
Yes.
And Mr. Morrison?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
This is our second opportunity for public comment. Seeing none,
We're too busy talking to talk.
moving to other business. Is there any other business for the good of the board? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's almost a record.
See you next month.